This is Imjinggak, the most northern village in Korea open to all South Korean civilians. A mere 20-minute drive to the north would take us to North Korea. But for the last 7 decades, the two Koreas have remained divided since the Korean War. And today, in 2017, as South Korea readies itself for a change in political leadership, we get an exclusive insider's look into the Hermit Kingdom through the lens of its elite. In August 2016, Thae Yong-ho became the highest-ranking North Korean diplomat to flee the pariah state. Ever since, the former deputy ambassador of North Korea to the United Kingdom has been exposing the gruesome realities of life under Kim Jong-un's repressive dictatorship. An exclusive insider's look into the Hermit Kingdom on our special interview series with Thae Yong-ho on Peninsula 24. Now, Deputy Ambassador Thae Yong-ho, it's great to sit down and have a discussion with you. Over the next couple of weeks, we will be discussing a variety of topics, but today, I want to begin with your story of defection. First of all, what initiated or motivated you?
It's very difficult, to say something like any triggering point or whatever, but I started to doubt the North Korean system quite a long time ago when I first served my diplomatic service in Denmark. That was 1996. That was my first service, and during my stay in Denmark and Sweden, I saw quite a different world, and that was the really difficult period for North Korean society when the millions of people died of the hunger and famine, and that kind of the happenings made me think whether there is any hope for this regime. There was another factor which was growing inside the family. That was the growing of my children. And when my children reached a certain age, and when they were engaged in Western education, they started to ask me a lot of questions about North Korean society, because when they were in high school, they started to read quite different the book about North Korea, and they ask the questions like why North Korean regime does not allow the internet or Facebook, why they do not allow North Korean people to watch foreign films, So my children started to ask questions which put me in a very difficult condition, because by that time I already knew that there is no hope, for North Korean regime, and also I knew that the life of North Korean people was nothing but the life of a present slave. And whenever I was asked this kind of questions from my sons, I felt, shame, you see, about my life because, to them, I was depicted as a kind of father who was living double life. They fully understood at that time that I do not totally agree with the policy and also the line of North Korean regime. What made me and my family more frustrated is that the Kim Jong-un regime started to accelerate its speed of nuclear weapons and also started to execute high, officials, including the uncle, of Kim Jong-un. So these kind of, several factors mixed together to push me and my family to a final conclusion that, we had to say goodbye to this system. Yes, so this is the basic story.
So would you say that is it safe for us to understand that once you ran out of justifications, that was when you had to decide to basically say your goodbye and farewells to the North Korean regime?
Oh, not exactly, actually, I made a kind of conclusion to defect this North Korean system, but there are a lot of, the factors or preparations which I had to finish, It was not a kind of, easy job, to defect one system to another because, my defection was actually the total denial of my past, you see, and my whole life. I almost, wasted more than 50 years of my life, so that's why it took me a little bit long preparations, to say final goodbye to North Korean system.
I want to ask you, so Deputy Ambassador Thae, what was your job in London? Basically, what was your day-to-day job description as a Deputy Ambassador at the North Korean Embassy in London?
The North Korean Embassy in London was quite a small embassy. Basically, I was in charge of bilateral relations between North Korea and UK. And on the meanwhile, I was in charge of the ideological work of the other diplomats and the family members of the North Korean embassy, which in North Korean terms, I was the party secretary of the embassy.
I've come across clips of you basically, presenting to the foreign missions or in London about the legitimacy of the ideology of North Korea and
Sure.
basically propagating how North Korean regime is in fact going in the right direction. At this time, you did not believe in it yourself. That is my impression. Am I correct?
Yes, but you have to, you have to pretend that you are loyal to the system. Most of the British people are very negative and hostile, so to speak, to North Korean society. I have to, protect, as to speak, the system and society of North Korea, because if I was depicted as a kind of person who was suspicious of North Korean system of society, then that kind of rumor, could be also, the conveyed to North Korean, the surveillance system. Then not only my life, but the life of my whole family could be in danger, and I can be recalled back to Pyongyang. So I have to be very, very cautious, you know.
So tell me, when did you first break it to your family that of your decision to say goodbye to the North Korean regime?
It's a little bit, you know, quite a long time ago. And when I first told my decision to my, you know, sons and my wife, at first, you know, they were shocked, but they didn't oppose my decision, and because, you know, actually they shared the feeling and resentment which, you know, I had, and finally they all supported, you know, my decision.
At first, however, I'm sure that, you know, all of you, all four of you, had some kind of a fear or hesitation about making this decision, or in fact, coming to like realize what the ideas that you had in your mind. What were some of the biggest fears that you had before actualizing this idea?
I told my decision to my family members, then asked them to let me know their decision, you know, as well. And they told me that they support my decision, but, you know, that does not mean for us that we would leave, you know, North Korean embassy next day, you know. We stayed quite a long time in North Korean embassy, and we had to be very normal, you know, and we should try our best to, you know, hide our, you know, the feelings. So the last, you know, the few, you know, the months were very difficult, you know, for us. But anyway, you know, there was no choice. But we had to pretend ourselves, you know, in order to make that defection successful.
You have family back in North Korea.
Yes.
And to my understanding, they could be put in great danger.
Not only danger, yes, but, you know, usually the families of defectors would be sent to, you know, the either labor camps or to some extent, you know, the political prison camps.
So do you know whether your family, your wife's family, are under such circumstance?
Oh, I haven't heard, you know, any updated the informations about whereabouts of the relatives and the family members. But in the past, you know, what happened to my colleagues who were already here, you know, were very miserable, you know, the stories. Their brothers and sisters were all sent to either labor camps or very remote areas, you know. All of them were expelled from Pyongyang city. Their, you know, the properties and the houses were all confiscated, you know, and their status, you know, of the society all of a sudden were downgraded to the class of, you know, the hostile. You know,
So
class.
it would be safe for us to imagine that similar incidences would have happened to your family and your wife's family.
Yes, like, you know, the families of higher ranking defectors like me, you know, would face a very severe punishment by the regime. Even though we are here in South Korea, you know, I cannot get rid of thinking, you know, of the brothers and, you know, the sisters and my relatives, you know. So more or less, you know, I am still, you know, every night I am still in a kind of, you know, nightmare of, thinking my relatives and, my brother and sister there in North Korea, yes.
Now, if you had just lived on your North Korean diplomat's life, you could go back to Pyongyang and live on a fairly good life, correct?
Oh, yes, but, I think the most important thing to human being is the freedom rather than the economic well-being. And it was a very difficult, the decision for me to defect because I had to choose, between freedom and the punishments, of my brother and sister and relatives, of my family in North Korea. And that's why, my freedom here in South Korea actually costs the life, of the other people.
You were aware of the risks that you were taking.
Yes.
Because should this not have been successful, then there would have been ramifications for that as well.
Yes.
Were you willing to take that risk with your family?
Of course, the freedom is not, the cheap thing. You see, for me and for my family, if you want to lead the freedom, then you have to take a risk in North Korean system. And if you are afraid of, this kind of risk, or if you are afraid of being caught by the security, the officers abroad, then you can't, get freedom. So I think, you have to be brave and bold, if you want to get a freedom.
Do you have a message to all your fellow diplomats, North Korean diplomats abroad, who must know in their hearts that whatever that they're being fed, whatever that they're obligated to propagate to the rest of the world is in fact not true?
Every North Korean diplomat knows, the reality of North Korea. They knows much better than the rest of the world, But the only reason for them not to make a decision, which I made, is the North Korean system of guilt by association, and also most of the North Korean diplomats enforced to leave one of their children in North Korea. So if they make a decision like me, then that means that kind of decision may lead to cost the life of their children. So as a human being, it can be very, very difficult, decision for anyone, to make. So I cannot openly say, what kind of decision they should make, but I fully understand the difficult situation of all North Korean, the diplomats.
I'm sure North Koreans, the average North Koreans in North Korea, aren't aware of your defection.
No.
If they were to be aware of your defection, what kind of a message do you think your defection would resonate amongst those North Koreans?
I think the implication of my defection would be great if the news of my defection, seep into North Korean society, because so far most of the defectors from North Korea were the people who defected because of the hunger or the famine or the other reasons. But my case is different because, I was in core class and I had a very good, the better life and a privileged life in North Korea. So if the ordinary people of North Korea would hear the news of my defection, then I think it could encourage them to question, why not me, even the people in that, class defect the North Korea, why not the people, from the lower class do the same? That's why the Kim Jong-un regime is really afraid of the information of my defection, even though the North Korean Central News Agency run by government ran kind of, the denunciation and commentary, labeling me as a traitor or, the criminal, whatever. But those other publications and the medias by North Korea, the propaganda system never carried, or even the condemnations, about my defection. So they are really afraid of spreading my defection case. My defection, I'm quite sure that could make more, the similar cases, especially in the high elite group in the near future. And the more defectors, come from elite group, then the more we can accelerate the collapse of Kim Jong-un regime.
So my final question is, Deputy Ambassador Thae, are you happy now that you're here with freedom?
Oh, I cannot say whether, I'm happy or not, but, what you see is quite sure and certain for me is that I have to live a very meaningful and significant life, in my rest of life. As I said, that my every second in South Korea, costs the life of other people in North Korea. So I have to do my best, to accelerate the speed of the country's reunification, so that, when my country is reunified and when I am able to walk myself to my hometown and meet my colleagues or friends, and then, I want to tell them proudly that I do not waste, my life here. I did something meaningful, for them. That's why, now I'm working really hard, to save their lives, so that at least I can bring something back, so that, to pay back their sacrifice they made because of me.
Is your wife happy? How are your sons enjoying freedom here in South?
I think they are enjoying, very much, and they're preparing, for entering South Korean universities. But I always, remind them that their everyday here is at the cost of somebody's life in North Korea.
Well, I think what really resonates with us is what you said. Freedom doesn't come without a cost. So every second and every minute of our lives here, everyone here in South Korea as well, we should not waste it because it comes at a cost of someone in the north. Well, thank you, Deputy Master Thae Yong-ho, for this. It was a great session today, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the many episodes that we will have over the next few weeks. And thank you so much for sharing your story of saying farewell to North Korea and saying hello to South Korea.
Yes, I'll try my best to give the objective understanding about North Korea through this program.
Thank you.
Thank you.